Hello, everyone. The topic for the day is human resource leadership. How do we plan for our manpower for the future requirement is what we are going to talk around and basically understand the concepts of leadership in terms of human resource of an organization. So, basic idea what is the goal? We will definitely come to the goal of having the right people. Remember, the right word has been highlighted in the proper places altogether. So what are the requirement? Right people with right qualities at right position and appropriate time is the goal around it. Hiring for the perfect person in totality, in terms of qualification, in terms of experience, in terms of the promotion ability and the prospects thereby at the right time is of human resources. So the right stuff is what actually it is all about your skills. Remember, skills, the attitude that the person has probably, and probably the experiences that we are looking in a successful partnership between the organization and the candidate altogether with the right amount of potential. Remember, experience with the future performances and potential that we are talking about. So, what are we looking into it? The right stuff is comprises of the skills, the aptitude, the experience with future orientations and the potential to grow about it is the right stuff, is the stuff that the dream employee employment candidate is all about it, the dream hiring candidate for any organization to possess the right amount of skills, the right amount of aptitude, the right amount of experiences, and should have immense potential to be groomed and probably exploited in future by the organization. So, basic agenda. Remember, there are three agendas for this presentation. We will be talking about the current state, which we are right now highlighting it out. Similarly, I'll be highlighting the selecting the right person in the pipeline and probably promoting the leadership abilities of the so-called prospect. So, what is the agenda? Is to understand what is the state of affairs as of today, what can be done to shape up the people and the employees altogether and technically develop them as potential performers and leaders of the organization. So look at it. Probably from 1998 to 2028, 30-year gap, what are the projections? Look what we are looking at it. Absolutely, the growth is simultaneously. So we are talking the green bar is all about employment. Look at it. It is all about labor forces, the quality of labor forces, and the institutional population or the civilian population that we are talking it. So way back in 28, it will come that equal amount of employment as far as the appropriate labor forces to be perceived in. Till then, there is a gap. Remember, there is this gap that we are talking around it, and this needs to be bridged altogether. And took approximately 30 years to bridge those gaps altogether. Similarly, the population is also going down. Remember, this population graph is also going down over a period of time. So we are definitely containing ourselves as far as population is controlled, definitely equipping ourselves with the requisite skills that we're looking into it. See, the skill pattern is growing, and then there is a parameter of equality in terms of the labor force and the skills required. So it's another 6 7 years from today probably we are going to see around it. So alternative workforce arrangement on the rise, what are they? Please understand what are the alternative workforce. Way back in 1995 there was none, and look at workforce which has improved, absolutely improved over 2015. This is a quantile of predicted hourly wages, the wages which has been given us. It has been a fair wage comparison. It is the requisite and honest wage for the honest labor that has increased over a period of time that we talking around it. Look, here it is in 2015 what was all about it and how it is improving. And this depends upon the skill level, the level of skills that we are talking around it. If the skills are good, by 2015 everything has improved way back when we compare it to a 20-year period of 1995. That is the that needs to be understood. Let us again see what where are we as of now. See, I have given you a presentation of 35 years altogether out here. Absolutely, the timeline is from 2015 to 2050. And if you look into it, the Asia, look at the yellow button which is of Asia and the pink button which is the sub-Saharan region. They are booming. They will remain booming. The population is vibrant altogether. We have a vibrant population. Look what have Europe has done. Europe of late has always been on a negative parameters as far as the population scale level is concerned. Way back in nine to another 35 years from now, or probably another 28 years from now, 30 to 28 to 30 years from now, things will change. Only African will be a continent which will have a potent younger population altogether. So the population growth projection has changed, will change over a period of time. So this is from UN World Population Perspective in 2017 that I've taken it out. The working population remains 15 to 64 years old, and that is what has been projected by the United Nations report, and that is what I have showed it to make you understand exactly what is happening as of today in the organizations, in the corporate world, in the company, with respect to the labor forces altogether, and how we are going to combat them with an HR leadership position. Fortune 500 companies. This is of Fortune 500 companies. This particular sample is about, which says 55% of the organizations has some leadership forecast, has some succession plan altogether with a moderated rating, which we have been telling it to you altogether. This is again an United Nations projection that has been given from the Fortune 500 companies, with the highest rating is less than around 9%, or should I say less than 9%, wherein the maximum thing will be moderate rating, or probably they don't pay and heed to it. And believe me, this is where we need to improvise. This is where we need to be proactive and plan for a manpower in the futures altogether. So average score is nothing but 4.6 out of 10. That means we have a huge leg room, a huge room to for improvement. 5.4 times we can improve altogether of the present existing result altogether. So what are the leadership forecasted, which all position? Look out here, 2003, which has been denoted by blue colors, and 2005 by the pink color. In for the CEO, CFO, it was 39% and 48%, the highest level which has been doing. For the multi-department health was the stressed part. Most important was paid. Stress was paid out here when multi-departmental and functional managers were going to be around approximately or appropriately 50%. Look what they say, 46 and 48%, that respectively. So this is where we got to go on. But in terms of departmental, in terms of first level functional head and supervisor, individual contributors, things will only change later, and of late it has come across it. So its job position covered by the succession plan is what I am showing it to you as of today. Where are we standing? So succession qualities most predictive of success is based on what you need to understand. What should be the ratings for to promote the leaders, promote the employees, promote the performers. Number one, it has to involve a senior most person, if possible the chief executive officer. Next would be involves the line managers altogether, to identify, to detect, to promote a particular candidate, to develop a candidate for senior position. The lineman with the fellow who will say the who which all employees have the potential in them to and grow up in the organization and take assume more responsibilities. Collect objective assessment data is what we are talking about it, regarding current performances and readiness, and the potential that we talk. Top areas needing improvement. What are the top areas? First and foremost thing, we all rely on the computerized system. God knows for what reason, but this is the fact. 66% of the work needs to be done out here. Wherein the second would be the wherein the manager base their effort on the direct report that go around it. So this is around 64% and this is around 66%. Last but not the least is a 55%, wherein a person, an incumbent, should have a mentor before himself or herself, so that he or she could be guided in a proper way, groomed accordingly to the requirement of the organization. Relies on computerized system. The managers has to evaluate the works on the personal basis, on his or her experiences, and if possible, can we involve a mentor, can we give some coaching to the incumbent, or so we have discussed what is the current state of affairs altogether. I have shown it to you what has happened for last 30 odd years, for last 20 odd years, different continent, different position, different succession planning, to give you a brief idea as to where, what is the current state. Now let us come and select the candidate or incumbent for the pipeline, for the promotion, for succession, for assuming HR lead position. So where do we start? Mind you, where the pain is most, start from there. It is usually at the top position, it is usually at the senior most position that we are looking into it, because oh, those position, those posts cannot be left vacant. It means there is a vacancy, there is a vacuum out there altogether, and the organization becomes a rudderless board. Identify critical and linchpin position. Definitely every position, every strategic business unit, every functional areas needs to have some key people who will act as a pillar, who will take the shock, who will absorb everything what has been thrown out to them. Next would be to cascade down to the lower level. From it is like absolutely said in that, in the ornogram, first and foremost thing is out here, the pain is out here, and then as you go slowly and steadily, you will actually play, make it similarly crossing it into the lower level of the organization. So that needs to be understood. The first foremost important is at the top level. So you have to ask a few questions. What are the most important? What, who are at the rest? The people who are senior, the people, the employees who are of older age, the person who are attaining the retirement or annulment age altogether, where you need to understand this thing. If the organization is growing, if it is growing in a different industry, if it is acquiring different businesses at different geographies, you need to understand that you require some trustworthy person, a key fellow, a key person to man the show altogether. So expanding the new business is all about it. Next is the critical level of strategy. This is very important. Well, what about strategy? It is all about decision making. At times people refrain from taking risky decision with the fear that they might be blamed if the decision backfires. So you require certain able-minded people to take due risk and go for that decision. That is what the critical level of strategy is all about. It. Last but not the least would be sensitive, specialized, exclusive experts. Those needs to be always manicured, cultured, always groomed. So we need to ask them. We need to ask this question: where are we most at risk? It is all about seniority. Is it about the newer business horizon that we are expanding? Is it about the strategy? Or is it about the key fellow, key strategy, persons who are a pinnacle or who are exclusive to the organization? Without them, the organization might actually suffer a setback in terms of business is concerned. Comes the just in time approach, is when to hire and when to record. We have a lot many things wherein we select, we hire, we promote, we evaluate. So these are the building blocks for succession planning, building blocks for competency model, and essentially leadership development. Remember, the topic we are dealing today is all about human resource leadership. What do we do about it? We need to look about the competency model. We need to look about the training and development, evaluation of performances. What about the IT or the knowledge or the intellectual property rights? We need to stress upon it. And definitely the compensation too comes in. So the just in time approach, you need to manipulate any of these building blocks so as to retain your most valuable employees, develop them into a future leadership role, and so on and so forth. Here the time factors has to be done. Now remember, everything needs to be married all together, everything can be married all together, and everyone is consulted, required absolutely with whatever cooperation, whatever feedback, whatever leverage that one takes up. It is all about the integrated approach of building the leadership pipeline. A proper, a due, a continuous, a regular exposure is what is required, not only in terms of workforce planning, but also in terms of competency building, the training and development, having the right people in terms of recruiting and hiring, retaining them, give them good remuneration, give them a good work-life balances, build, allow them to build on their knowledge, allow them to build on the intellectual capacity, the human capital management, the HCM that we talk about it. And here becomes is the research finding wherein the high potential and the replacement pool of the senior managers are given altogether. What are these? These are coming from the other way around. Remember, this is the bulk of the people in the top down approach. If this is the organization, if this is the organization, here this position is in right now out here, wherein this position would be going on the top as we go around it. So we have the all employees, then we have the technical specialist, and the first line supervisor. So we can again have an administrative skills and things like that can be carried forward. Then the mid managers and properly the CEOs. So it is all about time that needs to be stressed upon it. Time is a greatest healer altogether. This needs to be taken in forward in altogether. Then comes the talent acquisition. Talent acquisition, look at it, the pictograph that I've given it to you. So many people, so many stars, so many employees are being going through the process of funnel, and probably only a few people can take the helm of the affairs of the company. A few people can be actually groomed for the succession planning. Few people can be actually be termed as a human resource leaders. Now that is what we are talking about it. So we need to develop, communicate the standards and competencies and other evaluation to all, obtain input from multiple sources, supervisors, multi-rater feedback, assessment centers, simulations, self and peer nomination. Now these are what? These are nothing but the process that goes around it. Nothing else. We need to develop talent for to meet the future demand of the organization. The future position, if the organization is growing, if not growing, if key people are retiring, we need to take the continuum, the momentum in the organization, the momentum of growth in the organization should always be there. There can be no fallacies around it. That is what is required. Then comes the conduct regular talent reviews with the senior leaders altogether, and this is what we wanted. We need to understand it. Now comes the nine box matrix, one of the standard ways to rank. What are they? They are promotability and potential, typical based on competency performances. So promotability and potential on the x-axis, whereas the performances is on the y-axis. Now we have some performance of who are called higher, some performance are on lower, in between with the people who will be of a medium consideration. Similarly, for promotionability and potential, we have people with high potential and low potential, and in between potential of medium. So what do we have it? Let us discuss it. Remember, this is the fellow where neither the employee has a good potential or promotability nor the performance is good. So we have a low performer, and we what should we do? I have earmarked it in red color for you to take a decision upon it. And then comes with the potential and the performance is medium. We have something called questionable sessions or questionable performer. Do they require coaching? Do they require some lacking? Is there are some issues that for which they are not able to perform? Why is the performance so medium? But then comes the performance where their performance might be on the medium scale, but the potential is higher. You look at this slide, the middle slide which I have given out to you. It's a solid performer list where the performance is high, but the potential is lower. He's a solid performer, nevertheless he doesn't have enough potential, or she doesn't have enough potential, but the grit is there, but the energy is there, and his performance is rock solid. So he is a solid performer. Similarly, for medium potentiality that we have come across, when the performance is low but the potential is immensely high, again a solid performer that needs to be taken care altogether. And then I have done it deliberately in this graph of The middle one, the green color. Why did I give a green color? For you to guess the reasons all around it. I am not going to discuss it. They are basically strong performer. Why? Because they have huge potential. You look at it, their performance are on a huge potential level. Maybe the performance are medium, might be this, might be for some time reasons, and performance are high, no doubt about it. So we have a green color quadrant that has been built for you to understand as to the standard way to rank your employee, standard way to build your HR leadership quotient altogether. So the discussion question is what? I will always try to give a discussion question. So how objectives and inclusiveness is your process of selection? You need to answer this question. What does it mean for the pipeline to be in? Again, answer it with respect to your organization. If it was a class, I would have told you what exactly is all about it. Nevertheless, I will try to answer all these three questions in the next slide. Last question being, do they know that they are in? I think yes, transparency the answer to all those three of them. Do you tell them or do you not? This is a question that needs to go around it. I believe it is always better that you always transfer the know-how, and good things are always should be permitted to be transferred from one person to another person. Tell all potential candidate about their ratings. Very true. Give them a good decent feedback what regarding their performance been good, bad, or ugly, irrespective of what their performance is all about. Tell them who makes it into the pipeline. Give a right feedback. Explain that participation needs to be continuously earned as the case is concerned. Don't tell anyone about anything about the offers that they are ready to make altogether. Now, this is what you need to tell it out. Until and unless they have proven themselves, please refrain from giving a preemptive offer to them. Do not jump the gun. We come to the last topic of the agenda is developing the HR leaders. This is what what we are going around it. Now we will talk about developing HR leaders together. So, what are the five guidelines? There are five guidelines. First is focus on development. Focus on development of the individual, focus on development of the department, focus on development of the organization, and probably focus to be on the future oriented to identify the vital position, the linchpin position. Please never leave those vital position unmanned. Make it transparent the process of hiring, recruiting, and promoting staff. Measure progress regularly and definitely keep it flexible. Yes, we need to understand what is it all about to be flexible. So, what do the future leaders need to learn? Remember, first and foremost thing about employees, how to manage the employees, have the technical know-how, have the technical know-how of the department, the functions, the business, knowledge and enterprise, how the organization runs, how well the machinery of the organization is all about it, and it is all about building relationship, having forming strong bond with good diverse workforce, diverse functionality, diverse department, and so on and so forth. So how learning needs to be made? Number one, we can have a development program in terms of training, in terms of leadership skills. Next can be an action learning or project, giving them a project, giving them a real life situation, giving them to handle an area of a business altogether. Look, see how well they perform, what are the input that they require, can they do it on their own, or they come back for continuous feedback, or probably how confident are they. If it is done, if they are successful, why not repeat them in a different segment altogether? Rotate their position, develop assignments, give a proper exposure. This needs to be understood. Once if you are given a proper exposure into different functional area, different geographical area, different product segment, different customer segment, different handling segment of the organization, be it the vendors, be it the shareholder, it should be telling you about performances which needs a lot of data have you have already curated. Now based on the curated You take a feedback and assessment from other sources. This is where the intervention from the top management is always required, because they will give you a proper guidance what is been missing or what is been the wow factor. Then comes the structures of building relationship. Definitely yes, once you can establish working based on smooth relationship, things becomes very easy for the organization to achieve its goal. So competency are not enough. Leader competency, it is all about the values. A person, a leader often is distinguished by the value he or she carries. Then comes the skills of the person altogether. How skilled, or how, what is the presence of mind, how out of box thinking solution that he comes around it, and what time application that goes around it. So we have the six passages. Number one, which are what? From being a good time management for self to a good team management, that is from managing self to managing others. From others, you need to form to the next quotient of managing your superiors or your managers. So managing others might be your subordinate, might be your peers, but when you start managing your seniors, the leadership quantum creeps in. From managing managers to, can you become the departmental head, can you manage the functional managers, and so on and so forth. Once you can do this functional head of the responsibility, now can you groom up, can you move out to the shoes of a business manager, from functional manager to a business manager position, that you can go around it. And if you are managing a good profitable unit all by yourself, from business manager, it's better that greater responsibility is bestowed upon you. And this is where you need to prove your mettle. The moment you do it, you are only a step ahead from being a chief executive officer. So the six steps: managing self to managing others to managing managers to functional managers, from functional managers to business managers to group managers, and eventually the chief executive officer of the company. So how do we develop them? First and foremost are the individual jobs, the on the job training, which can be an individual development plan. It can be a stretch assignment. You elongate an assignment, give a proper exposure, give a different exposure, give the exposure on a different cycles of the business altogether. The rotational assignment, which we have already discussed it, cross functional team projects, performance support, the cross functional promotion pathways, and shadowing or mentoring process, shadowing executive level process. This is where we got to go around it. Now we will come with the idea of formal development. What are they? This is where the classroom teaching can come places, which can be on based on assessment, based on coaching, mentoring, formal training, action learning, and discussion groups and book clubs. This is what we got to go around with, about assessment, about coaching, about mentoring, the formal training, the action learning, and the discussion groups or book clubs. Telling it to you. Next, or the last one, would be the CEOs. The vital six practices is making a leadership development a top priority. The CEO will be the fellow. The senior fellows and the board members will look into groom certain people to take up the mantle of the organization. Leaders at all levels are accountable. Definitely, yes, for creating a definitive, a proactive environment to motivate an employee to perform at their best. Remember, HR leadership teams receive training and coaching to work together on team building altogether, work effortlessly, and so on. Then comes the mid-career managers receiving job shadowing opportunities of mentoring the protege. Altogether, the incumbent can be assigned to a mentor who have been proficient in their particular role for quite a number of years, and that is where we got to go around it. Now comes the high potential can receive a 360-degree assessment and feedback on their leadership quality. Give a realistic feedback as to what the areas needs to be improved and what areas they need to capitalize on. Next would be the last would be the mid-level managers, given adequate time for leadership development activities early in their careers. Next, why are we going around it? We come into understand what are the things that we are doing good in terms of measuring your success as a HR leadership program. What are the percentage of internal placement? This is a metric that help you out. What are the percentage of candidate ready to take a higher responsibility for a longer period of time. That needs to be another metrics that you can tell is the measure of your success of an HR leadership program. Then the attrition rate will tell, give a good indicators. The success rate of promotion is all we are looking at it to accomplish in the first place. What else can be done? We will be talking about it in times to come. What were you trying to accomplish in the first? What we are talking around it. Yes, the last but not the least is the technology as an enabler, wherein we are talking about enterprise resource planners vendors. We are talking about the performance management vendors or LMS or learner management system vendors altogether. These all helps you to groom the right candidate for a right position, which can be 24/7 access. They might be a pre-recorded session. You can have it on the online process altogether. It can be search based criteria. It can be human capital management that we data that needs to be engrossed upon it, and definitely look for gaps and strength to capitalize on. View of the talent across geographies and function is the last but not the least is all about it. Then mind you, HR leadership program can be enabled by technology in a faster, easier and a smoother process. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video.